Hey everybody, this is Jeff from Build an Aquarium Workshop coming back at ya. Alright, you thought I wasn't going to come back, did you? Right? It's probably been a month since I've done a video. Oh my goodness, look at what have I been doing? I'm going to tell you at the end of this video what has been keeping me away from YouTube, because I promised you I would do more videos. Alright, so here's your video. Alright, okay, so this video today is going to be about saltwater versus freshwater water changes. Now remember, 2 reasons to tune into my channel was, well, I'm the low budget guy, right? I am the guy that puts everything into layman's terms so that you can understand, right? We don't talk big terminology, here at this channel. Maybe if we do, then we're going to go ahead and define that and break it down into layman's terms so that you can understand. If I don't, just go ahead and shout out a comment and say, hey, or a question. Well, what did you mean by that? Okay, so a lot of people are like, saltwater. Right, is there saltwater reef tank? Freshwater, okay? What's the difference? But also, what's the backbone of, keeping your fish happy and healthy? Water changes, right? Water changes. Some people are confused. You're going, I don't understand. What is he talking about? Water changes. Water changes to keep your fish healthy, fresh salt, doesn't matter, is to go ahead and you get your bucket, right? I've got my stuff here. You're going to take a bucket. I'm using a 5-gallon. That's what I like to use. You can use a smaller bucket. Of course, it depends on the size of the tank, Bigger tanks, probably want at least a 5-gallon bucket to do some water changes. And I got a bunch of different siphon tubes, okay? And so in a minute, we're going to talk about that. So we have to actually take water from the bottom of the tank, and I put it simply, okay? Because let's just put it this way. That's where all the waste goes. Even though we have filters on these tanks, and I've got a skimmer going right now in this tank, it doesn't matter, right? There's still a buildup and accumulation, okay, of fish waste and products that fish don't like. In this case, in this tank, corals don't like. Okay, so we do partial water changes. We do them small. We do a little more frequently. But depending on your tank, that can vary, right? You can do bigger water changes. You can do them less frequently. It just depends on a lot of factors. We're not going to get into that today. But we're going to get into what is the big difference between salt and fresh. What else do we need? Not a lot. I'm going to show you a couple things. There's really only 2 things you're going to need. Now, for those who say, saltwater is too difficult, it's expensive. Well, the fish are more expensive, things like that. But when it comes to maintenance and water changes, they're nearly identical, okay? Now, I'm going to talk about saltwater, not invertebrates, so we're not going to talk about corals. I know there's a reef tank, so we're not going to talk about corals. And we're not going to talk about, like those beautiful anemones and crabs and snails and things like that. We're going to talk about if you were to have fish, saltwater fish versus freshwater fish. What would be the big difference? And the big difference isn't much, okay? Either way, you're still going to need a bucket, okay? All right. You're also going to need a siphon tube. So it doesn't matter if it's fresh or salt, you're going to need a siphon tube. What size depends on the tank, right? If you have a 500-gallon tank, you probably don't want to pick this little guy. You might be there for a while, okay? So you're going to want to pick, a much bigger siphon tube for a bigger tank, and they have all different sizes. And of course, you got this tubing, which is soft tubing. It's flexible. You can cut it. You can have it really long or short, depending on, again, your circumstance, what size tank you have. And how big a water change is. Sometimes you can do a tank this size with a smaller hose. If you try to do a little more fine tuning, I guess you can say it. You're maybe not going to do a big water change. We want to make sure that the water's not coming out too fast. You can use this tube; it's going to come out fast, right? These tanks both have sand, so you might not want to opt for that. You might want to opt for something a little smaller, and also you might want to opt for something longer versus that. See, that's a short tube, and when you're using this with sand, I don't use this for this tank, or either of these tanks, but if you use this one, it's going to suck up a lot of sand quickly, okay? So you probably want a longer tube where you can shake it out. But that's when you do the water changes. I think I've done a video on that in the past. You can refer to that. But what else do we need? Okay, so we got our bucket, we got our siphon tubes. Either way, you're going to need a towel. You're going to need a towel. Got it reversed. I use this towel for saltwater. I use this one fresh. I just keep them separate. Of course, you can always, wash these towels, and mix them up. It doesn't really matter, but remember, when you do water changes, you're taking water out of the tank, a little bit spills here and there. You know that. So you're going to want to clean up, that water spillage, all right? Maybe even have it ahead of time on the ground. All right, so far we've talked about the exact same equipment. So it doesn't matter if it's a saltwater fish tank or a freshwater fish tank. Same equipment. All right, here's the thing. You're probably going to use tap water, okay? If you use bottled water, you won't need a water conditioner. Doesn't matter which one you use. This is Wordley's. This is inexpensive. This was like something you'd buy at Walmart. And it doesn't matter as long as it takes the chlorine out. You got a chlorine, you got ammonia. You put them together, you get chloramine. Those are like the 3 deadly, chemicals maybe in our water if we're using tap water, right? If you're not using tap water, then you won't need this. Okay, that's just bottled water, or you make your own water like reverse osmosis water, then you'll be fine. But otherwise, you're going to use this. So you're going to use this no matter whether it's a freshwater tank or a saltwater tank. You still got to dechlorinate the water that comes out of the tap. Okay? All right. So no difference so far, right? Same, fresh, salt, doesn't matter. Okay. Now, there is a couple things you're going to need though for the saltwater tank that you won't need for the freshwater tank, and that is salt. Right? Big difference. Now, that some of you have seen my other video, you've seen that there is a little bit of salt in this tank. It's the Tanganyika or African cichlid salt. Okay, but a lot of tanks don't really necessarily put salt in them. This one's an exception. The community tank, I don't put any salt in. Sometimes people will use a little bit of salt, but not for that. This was a specific one, right? But for the most part, this is a salt that goes for your saltwater fish. Okay, there's a whole bunch of different brands. I use this one, which is Instant Ocean. Doesn't matter to me, especially if it's going to be fish. It's not going to make a difference. And of course, to measure the amount of salt, you're going to need a handy dandy hydrometer, right? That measures the amount of salt. And this one's this is pretty simple. You just dip into the tank, into the water, and you get the water and you fill it up to a line, and then it tells you where you should keep it, your salinity, right? It's like 1.020 to 1.026, which is a big broad range, And that's it. And so that tells you how much salt. So when you're mixing, you got your water, you dechlorinated it, you're putting in your salt. You don't want to keep putting in too much salt, otherwise it's going to be way too high, way too salty. And if you don't put enough, it'll be, maybe brackish water, depending. It might not be salt water. Those fish aren't going to be happy. All right, so that's it. You need a hydrometer, and you need a salt for your saltwater fish tank. That's it. There's no other difference. Everything else is the same for your water changes, okay? So why would it be more difficult to maintain a saltwater tank versus a freshwater tank? Well, in terms of maintenance and water changes, it isn't, okay? You got to buy the salt and the hydrometer. Once you have the hydrometer, you're going to keep using it over and over. That's an old one. So it's not like you need a ton of money and equipment. The salt, you can buy, buckets and bags in bigger quantities depending on how big your tank is. They could last for quite a while if you're doing smaller water changes, right? And if you have a smaller tank. Okay, so that is today's video. If you're like, I'm not sure I want to do saltwater. If you have a little bit bigger budget, okay, for the salt, they're a little more expensive than fish, especially if you want to get a rimless tank, things like that. You're going to spend a little more money, but you don't have to necessarily. The only added expense would be the salt and the hydrometer, right? And of course the fish being a little bit more expensive. So, but don't let that discourage you. The maintenance is the same. So you might as well go ahead and dive into saltwater versus freshwater. All right, so that is today's video. Now, what have I been doing? Why have I not been doing videos? I missed like a whole month. I apologize to you. So let me show you in the other room what has kept me busy for the last. All right, here we are in the living room, and you remember we have our little community tank. The lights are going down. It is in the evening time. So you saw the saltwater lights are going down. These lights are going down. The tank's doing very well. Fish are doing well. We'll do another video on these guys. Now, what have I been doing, keeping busy with? Well, here you have it. You're like, what is this? What does this have anything to do with anything other than that's an axolotl and some aquatic life? That's right. I have been making coloring books, and they are on Etsy right now. Okay. As a digital artist, I'll be doing my own artwork. Right now, this is kind of just a study in use of AI. And I'm going through the images, though, and making sure that they are good images, that these aren't, we don't have any weird, a two-headed axolotl or extra limbs or missing limbs, things like that. So that's what I'm doing. So this is the book that's, related kind of to my channel is Tropical Fish. And so I did an aquatic life. It's mostly saltwater except for this little guy right here. And I have another picture to show you. So I've been coloring these. So of course these are instant digital downloads, okay? And I'm doing a deal for the month of July, okay? And here you go. So here's another one, if you can see that. I know the lighting's not the best. You got the Dumbo octopus, right? And the axolotl. Okay, so there are 24 Aquatic Life coloring pages, detailed, they're nice, a good variety, some really cool stuff. I really put a lot of thought into it. They are over on, I will put this on the screen, okay? I'll put this on the screen. My name of my shop, and it is on Etsy. And these are instant digital downloads, so I don't ship you anything. All you do is you click to buy. And to give you an example, that Aquatic Life coloring book, it's coloring pages. It's 24 coloring pages for $1.25. But it's not even going to cost you that because you're watching my video. I'm going to try to send some of you over to my Etsy shop and help support me, okay? And it's 20% off. So it's only going to cost you $1 for 24 coloring pages. And I'll flash the code. I'll put it in the description, but I'll flash the code. It is Aquatic20, okay? Aquatic20. And the name of my business is Flip the Switch. So, you know, you flip the switch from black and white, and you get color on the other side, right? So very cool. And so that is going on starting tomorrow, July 1st. Today is the 30th. And that Aquatic20 will work for, I have 4 coloring books that'll work for any of them, okay? And I'll just quickly show you the other coloring books. That was the first coloring book that I put on. The second coloring book that I put on was this really cool mythological coloring book, fantasy, mythological. So pretty cool there. So this one I use color pencil on, the other ones I use crayons on. So I've been having relaxing fun with coloring. And then the third book I put on is, of course, it's America's 250th anniversary. So we put a lot of famous landmarks on there. And this one has like 18 pages. The mythological one is 18 as well. So a little less pages. Still a great deal. And then I put 20 really cool coming up. You know, Halloween's going to be coming up. And this is the scary good, you know, Halloween type of coloring pages. So if you're into all that, there's a lot of gothic living dead dolls, that kind of stuff. Some really cool stuff. So if you use Aquatic20, you're going to get 20% off on any of those coloring books. And so the 250th American anniversary one's only $1. So it's only going to cost you 80 cents. The other ones will cost you, they're $1.25, so it'll cost you $1 because you're watching my channel and supporting me, and I really love that. So, okay, that's what I've been doing. I took a month off. I've been doing all these coloring books, and coming up with ideas and brainstorming and looking and going through lots of images and you know, sometimes doing a little bit of customizing here and there, things like that, just making sure that these are the right images and they're good quality images that, you know, kids will want to color. They're for kids, they're for teens, they're for adults. So, you know, even if you're older, have at it. I think you'll still enjoy it. I am now. I wasn't coloring. Now that I'm coloring, I really, really enjoy it, and it's pretty awesome. Okay, so anyway, that's it for this video. Please don't forget, like, subscribe, head on over to Etsy. If you don't have an Etsy account, get an Etsy account, okay? If you like to color pages or you know someone, you can give them the code. It's good for the whole month, okay? Aquatic20, the whole month of July. I've got 4. I got another book coming out more coloring pages coming out very, very soon. This one's for kids, even the younger kids, and this one's really cute. It's really, really awesome, and I know you'll love it. So, okay, anyway, thanks a lot for watching, folks. We'll see you in the next video.